I've been everywhere, man.
He's
I've
back.
been
Heard this
everywhere,
before.
man. Across the deserts bare, man. I've breathed the mountain air, man. I've travelled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. Been to Tullamore, Seymour,
Bangalow.
Lismore, Lullaby, Nambour, Roochtor, Kilmore, Rillabar,
Bangalow.
Brooksville, Emmaville, Wallaville, Connemara, Connemara, Strathron, Proserpine, Alladala,
Bangalow.
Darwin, Gingin, Lillaquen, Muckilla, Wallamilla, Bougainville, Cumberland, Ramakilla. I've been everywhere, man.
Ah, there's that man we spoke to earlier. His name was Lucky Star, but today we are off to Bangalow in New South Wales, where we find Karena Wynn-Moylan. G'day, Karena.
Good morning, Neil. How are you?
Doing very well, and you've also already spoken to Robert. Thanks for joining us and telling us about Bangalow. I promised you yesterday, hard-hitting journalism. Here we go. Where's Bangalow?
Where is Bangalow? Everybody seems to know where Byron Bay is. Bangalow is in the hills above Byron. In fact, we like to say we're a little bit above Byron Bay.
Geographically, intellectually, culturally. No, we won't go down that path. So how far out of Byron?
Oh, probably about 12 minutes.
Oh, okay. So it's virtually a suburb of Bangalow.
Have you got some people now, Karena, that live in Bangalow and are telling people that they live in Byron? Is it sort of... have you lost a bit of your identity because of Byron's name, or are the people there really proud still to be in Bangalow?
Curiously enough, it's the reverse.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So they live in Bangalow, not Byron Bay.
Right. Now, you famously, therefore, must be very east in Australia.
Yes, we're just off that most eastern point of Australia, which is down there, actually in Byron, of course, where the lighthouse is.
Yeah, outstanding. Now, the other thing, we love a little bit of cross-promotion here. So I believe that there's a radio station in your neck of the woods, not the one that we know as Bay FM, but you've got your own Bay FM up there, and there is one very, very important announcer you need to tell us about.
Well, actually, officially we're called 2 Bay FM, but we're actually sort of slowly changing our name to Byron Bay FM, 99.9 actually, and we stream all the time. You can hear all our announcers there. Very highly awarded station. We've won many, many awards from the Community Broadcasting Association for the programs that we do there. And I've had a program there on the arts for the past over 20 years, Arts Canvas, every Thursday morning, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Excellent. Now, I would, of course, be changing the name not to Byron Bay FM, but I'd be changing it to Bradman FM with 99.9 as your frequency. That's a reference to a cricketer.
We could do that, I know, but everyone would think that we're actually down in Barrel.
Yeah, there is that. I hadn't thought of that.
That is
so,
true.
Arts Canvas, I think there's a hint in the name. What sort of things do we do on the program?
Everything to do with the arts. There's an enormous number of people in the district here who actually are creative artists themselves. We're talking filmmakers, writers, dancers, musicians, of course, visual artists and sculptors and ceramicists and everything you could imagine. It's quite heavily populated with these sorts of people. Plus, we've got all those Johnny-come-lately celebrities who move in here too, who just sort of go off and get highly paid acting jobs every now and then.
So the town of Bangalow itself, how many people live there?
Oh, that's a good question. I think
Thank you.
we're up to about 2,900 something.
Okay, so let's call it 3,000 just to make it sound a little bit bigger. And what do the good folks around Bangalow do to fill in their day apart from arty things?
Well, of course, they'd probably go off and try and find jobs down in Byron Bay. You know how it is.
Yeah.
That's what they actually do. There is a very tiny main street. We have a fabulous main street, which is actually one of the few heritage-listed streets in the Northern Rivers because of the buildings and the type of buildings and the style of them and things. Famously, we say that it's a very impractical town. You'd be absolutely hard-pressed to find a pair of underpants in the main street of Bangalow, for instance. It's full of very trendy stores.
So can I just backtrack on that? Do you mean in shops or on the people walking along the said street?
No, it's in the shops, mate. There's nothing practical around here.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
No, look, it's certainly an interesting place from afar. It's now got a reputation that seems to be getting bigger and bigger without people ever having to go to the place. But you've been there 40 years, you said. How much has it really changed in that period of time as the aforementioned reasons, the arty and famous folk that have come to visit and or stay?
Well, it's changed enormously. Byron Bay itself was originally a town that existed on its slaughterhouse and its milk production and also whaling, would you believe? You know, it was only in the 60s that they stopped bringing whales up onto Tallow Beach and processing them there. And the whole town was actually built around that. And then slowly it got discovered in the 60s by American surfers originally as having fantastic surf breaks. Then a lot of Australian surfers became here. Then in 75, of course, there was the second big Aquarius Festival over in Nimbin, and from then there was a big influx of people moving up here because by then the whole dairy industry had actually collapsed here. The land was sold very cheaply. People could buy large areas of land and build houses here and things. It all stemmed from there, really.
And have you enjoyed the change?
Oh, it's very interesting from an anthropological point of view. What can I say? Just watching a place change around you. There's really good things that have happened, and there's perhaps some things we would like to have happen. I mean, I originally lived in Byron Bay. We moved up here to Bangalow because we could see it was going to become very difficult to have a reasonable lifestyle in Byron Bay because it was such a heavily touristed area, and it was all sort of built to cater to that. Yeah,
well, that certainly happened down here in Torquay, I would suggest, would be a place that's become very similar to that. And interesting, a lot of towns around Geelong have been enhanced by people going there, loving what they've found and blending into it rather than trying to change it. And maybe Byron was one of those towns that has been changed by the influx of the people and the influence that they've had.
Well, it's interesting. It's a bit of a 50-50 thing. Certainly here in Bangalow, we find we get some people who move in and totally appreciate what it is they've actually got, and they set about restoring it, and we've had some spectacular rescues of places that previously, you know, might have just been going, heading for demolition. But in Byron, unfortunately, it's very difficult to stop developers moving in. Remember, we're very, very close to the Gold Coast here as well, and they've had their sights on Byron for a long time, and now there's an awful lot more of that sort of, what would you say, managed accommodation and apartments and things like that in Byron than there ever used to be. But I have to say, the beach is still absolutely spectacular. The headland is spectacular. The bay, everything about it is still beautiful. It's got all those features. You can't really take those away.
And the first part of the country to get sunlight in the morning.
Oh, really? Yes, it would be, yes.
Sorry to get all geographical and scientific on you.
Karena, I want to touch on the community radio thing again. We had a visit this week from the Federal Communications Minister, and she came in and spoke very fondly about the importance of community radio. And
we've still got our licence.
Yes, that's right.
We're very clear about that.
and that worked really well. And it was a real big kick along for the station. But up there where you are, how important is the medium for you and your region?
It's incredibly important because, you know, we live in a flood-prone area for a start-off. You know, this is a way of people sort of being able to tell their stories, can sort of keep different organisations connected with each other. Bay FM, like many community stations, has a lot of different programs, a lot of different presenters, and all of those help the cohesiveness within the community. It's also a place where, of course, a lot of music gets played. I mean, we break a lot of bands who can't get airplay on something like maybe commercial radio, but after that they do get more famous. So there's a lot of bands that have made their name coming out of this district.
And a lot of commercial radio announcers also in this part of the world cut their teeth on community radio in Melbourne.
Absolutely, and not only that, a lot of people. The interesting thing about community radio, because a lot of people have asked me, well, why don't you just go and get a job, you know, in commercial radio? It's the incredible freedom as a presenter that you have to construct a show about what issues that you think are important, you know, to play the sort of music that you think should get exposed, and to raise issues every week that you want to draw people's attention to. And I think that's really the big difference between commercial radio and community radio.
I reckon if we were on commercial radio, we wouldn't be having to chat to you about what's going on in Bangalow this morning. I can give you the drum.
That's right.
Well, Karena, thank you for taking some time out of your busy Saturday morning to be part of this conversation. I can tell you something, Rob, about Bangalow that hasn't been mentioned thus far, and that is it's in the lyrics of a certain song called I've Been Everywhere.
Oh, there you go. You might have ticked off the first.
Yeah, so Karena and I are chatting in one of the episodes, I think later this week, about life in Bangalow as part of the I've Been Everywhere project. So thank you for this morning and thank you in advance for that conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Neil and Robert. It's been wonderful to talk to you.
And
best wishes.
99.9 Bay FM, soon to be Byron Bay FM, on a Thursday morning, you said? Arts Canvas.
Absolutely. It's always there. And we have iView as well. You can always get the back issues.
Excellent. There you go. So if you want to have a listen, get onto that and tell Karena you heard about it on the Two Blokes Chatting. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.
That is Karena Wynn-Moylan.